program is brought to you by South Infertility and IVF.
In the last episode, we have been having a nice discussion with Ms. Priyanka, the nutrition specialist, about obesity and weight loss. Because it's a huge subject, we are continuing with the weight loss this week as well. So, what more can we learn about weight loss?
So we're going to talk about a bit more on how you can control your weight and maybe a bit more practical stuff like how you could cook and what to avoid on a day-to-day basis. What do you usually suggest to your patients to avoid or completely eliminate?
Yeah. Okay. So I tell the patient not to take items like cakes, cookies, biscuits and ice cream. Actually not to reduce, to stop this effect. And I ask them to use less amount of oil in cooking so that they don't do any frying. So they don't take any fried foods, they take only foods which are cooked or baked or even roasted. So that they reduce the calorie automatically. I ask them to reduce the amount of carbohydrate if they are having problems with PCOS. I also ask them to avoid or to reduce taking foods in the hotels and going to parties because they are very calorie rich. So these are the things I tell the patient. So what do you suggest?
I think an important thing would be stick to traditional cooking because there's a lot of science behind traditional cooking. If you really look into it, you can, now that we start researching why did our ancestors eat like that, we can see clear patterns, clear correlations between the food that benefit each other. So I think whatever your grandma told you to cook, that's a good way to go. And I think the newer kind of food, like fruit juices for example, it's terrible for you really. I think it's a misconception that since it's made from fruit, or if anything's made from fruit or vegetables, it's good for you. And this is a huge market for products. This food is natural, but we have added 10 grams of cane sugar, but that's fine. So
no, but people think that fruit juice is good, and I've seen many patients who go on diet or just having fruit juice.
Again, that's the problem with the misconception because people think that if the product is from fruit or vegetable, then it has to be good because fruit and vegetable are good.
Yeah.
But
so what exactly is the problem with the fruit juice?
Well, in one word, fiber. Fiber is what you want, what you need every day, all day. And when you take out fiber from the fruit, like a fruit really works as a whole. There's many things about it we still don't know how it gets absorbed, and it's very complicated and we still don't know much about it. And when we try to get rid of this massive part and just drink the other, it's not really good for it. Like it spikes our blood sugar and it has the same effect. So
it's like a concentrated calorie drink because we get rid of the fiber and we just take
might as well eat cake. Yeah? It's the same effect.
Oh, right. Okay.
So when people diet on this and it's not.
So what about the vegetable juice? I've heard that vegetable juice is okay.
Vegetable juice is better because it doesn't have free sugars like fruits. Especially fruit sugar is really bad for you, but not taken in a fruit form.
The fructose part.
Yes, fructose is actually worse for you than the other sugars. But taken in a fruit form, it's okay because of the structure of the fruit.
Yeah, and it has fibers and the vitamins.
But when we take it out,
it's
actually worse for you than glucose water, if that makes sense. It's got a worse effect.
Okay, so what else? Which other food?
I think we need to talk about fiber a little bit more because
you can.
Well, what do you know about fiber? And conventionally, fiber is just used to think of it as a roughage, for
as doctors we usually advise fiber in the form of vegetables and fruits, mainly for the bowel movement. It helps people to have regular bowel movements, reduce constipation, and actually it has shown that it reduces the chance of having colonic cancer, bowel cancer. And I think there's a very new thing coming about microbes, which
which I'm really excited about. It's my favorite topic. Well, I'll start by saying how fiber is so deficient in our population. Just take the standard American diet. 90% of Americans don't meet the minimum recommendation for fiber. That's a crazy statistics. Like all around the world, except India, we're pretty good with that. But fiber is so essential, and we've only started to realize the benefits. It's not just a refuge. For example, there are two types of fiber. There's insoluble fiber and there's soluble fiber, and different foods have like different kinds of fiber. So there's a new kind called resistant starch that we didn't know before. And well, believe it or not, our body has trillions of bacteria. So we got 10 times more bacterial DNA in us than human DNA. So we're more bacteria than human, technically speaking. But so we need to feed our bacteria, because our bacteria is really good for us. We live off these friendly bacteria. Our bacteria could determine if you're fat, if you're obese, if you're skinny. It can determine your partner selection. Yeah, exactly. Your bacteria controls pretty much a lot of things that you didn't realize. It can even produce hormones and make you feel depressed.
Oh.
So
get a lot of good bacteria.
So it's very important. And I think more than just, ingesting probiotics, I think it's better to just nurture the bacteria you do have. And what do you think would nurture the bacteria?
That's what I was thinking about. Where do you get all these good bacteria from?
Intrinsically. So what happens when you're born is that you're exposed to all these bacteria at birth. And that's why, childbirth is really important stage in the development, and how the woman goes into labor as well. Because if you have a C-section, for example, the child is not exposed to all these bacteria that would later form
the bacteria in the vagina.
Exactly.
Yeah?
So that's a big thing, because children born from C-sections have more problems with autoimmune diseases and inflammation diseases. So it's crazy. Just by being in labor, the baby is exposed to microbiome that future determines its life.
Okay, so that means it's a big message to the gynecologist. Try and get women to deliver naturally as much as possible, because when as you explained, during normal delivery the baby is exposed to all the good bacteria in the vagina, and they actually acquire them, and they get colonized, and they get more immunity, and they're protected from diseases.
They have crazy statistics, even in relation to autism. Babies born from C-section have twice the chance of being autistic as a baby being normally born, which means that in your child's brain development, your bacteria have such a big impact. So you can imagine how much of an impact your diet has on your bacteria. For example, it's a study of mice, but they took a really obese mice and they took the microbiome, the bacteria in the obese mice, to really skinny mice, and within days the skinny mice eating regular food became obese.
Oh.
So it's just saying that people.
So we may be able to get bacteria from thin people and put it into obese people?
It's actually the best way. It works. It's been proven to work. But it's a bit iffy. You don't want to do that. You don't want to have a fecal implant if that's what you're implying.
Yeah,
it's
so
possible.
What you have to try and do is that maybe have a lifestyle in which you are exposed to good bacteria.
Number one is antibiotics, because what kills your good bacteria off is antibiotics. And nowadays, any meat that is not, most meat and milk and cheese and eggs, they have so much antibiotics. Every time you eat,
you're getting antibiotics.
Yeah, and
so you don't actually have to take a prescribed antibiotic. You just need to eat a meat product.
Yeah,
to get
exactly.
antibiotic.
And I'm not saying all meat products are like that, but the ones that you do get that are not free range or organic, they're not really.
So if you are a non-vegetarian, so it's better that you take organic, hoping
free
that
range.
they're not treated with antibiotics and
Yeah.
steroids and
I
hormones.
think they have to, at least in Australia, they have to mention if they are treated, and organic means no antibiotics too. So it's really important. Just because, you know, they're treated with so much antibiotics, and then how much meat do you, just think about how much meat you eat, and all those antibiotics are killing all your good bacteria, and that makes you obese. That makes you fat. And there's not like you tried everything. You've tried exercising, you've tried, you know, eating healthy, but it still doesn't seem to work. I think this aspect is very new. I don't think people realize, even as a doctor, even I didn't realize, even though I've been researching on this subject for many years, this is a fairly new topic which is coming, and that's about the microbes and the bacteria that makes what we are, you know, makes us. You're completely right. Just think about the ratio of DNA, or you have trillions of bacteria. That's more. You have more bacteria in your stomach alone, more than the human population on Earth.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yes.
10 times
trillion,
more. So that's crazy. So we have a whole world up there. We have, you know, societies and cities, and it's just booming. So every time you do eat antibiotics, you're killing off all of these.
So what about the fiber that you eat? Do they help with these microbes?
Well, there's a specific fiber called resistant starch, which is, you know, found in certain foods, and they...
Like what?
Raw bananas.
Raw bananas?
Yeah.
Oh, we eat a lot of raw bananas in our part of the world.
This program is brought to you by South End Fertility and IVF.
South End Fertility and IVF, where hope meets happiness. Established in 2001 and guided by care, ethics and expertise, South End has completed over 10,000 ART cycles. It offers comprehensive infertility treatment for both men and women. Modern facilities and experienced team is the hallmark of South End. The centers are at Vasant Vihar, Gurgaon, Saket, Paschim Vihar and Amritsar. South End Fertility and IVF.
So speaking about the microbiome and how important it is, and it is a really new science that has been emerging, but it's got really promising results, something that we didn't know before, and something that could change everything. You know, I think in a few years, instead of, you know, like the doctors checking us, they'll be checking our bacteria, because we have more bacteria cells than human cells. And it is the key to autoimmune diseases. It's the key to cancer. It's the key to growth. It's the key to everything. It's something, depression. You know, there's so many things that we still don't know much about, but we're slowly getting there. I'll give you an example how the bacteria, you know, communicates with us. You know, our brains, our neuro and immune system. So good bacteria produces a hormone, a substance called butyrate. And our immune system senses butyrate and knows, okay, there's enough good bacteria, don't attack, you know, we're all good, we don't need to do anything. But when we don't have these good bacteria producing butyrate, our immune system goes into defense mode, thinking that there's something wrong because it's natural for humans to have butyrate. And they start attacking our own systems, our own intestines, causing chronic inflammation, like ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease, for example. So we're slowly getting to the reason why we have inflammatory problems and, you know, diarrhea and, you know.
Yeah, I know that now nearly 1/3 of the population have problems with chronic inflammatory problems and a lot of issues, especially in the Western population. Yeah.
It's related to antibiotics, overdosing, and really bad diet with no fiber. And this in turn causes, low butyrate means depression, and your immune system is bad. Everything just goes into havoc because something's wrong and your body can't seem to figure out why.
And then, when you're depressed, you eat more, and then it's a cycle.
And the thing about depression is when you have it, you don't really think of why, because you're in such a mood. It affects your entire life. You don't want to study. You don't want to do anything. And in turn, you want to eat bad because that will give you that simple satisfaction.
Yeah.
And it's a negative spiral. And I think that psychological aspect of diet's role is another important thing that we need to look into that many people ignore. People will try to lose weight, but they don't focus on, how we feel, which is the most important. We need good energy levels. We need, good communication. And for everything, we need good food. And as I said, there are few basic principles. Eat a lot of plants, eat a wide variety, eat a lot of colors. Don't deep fry things. It's not really hard.
So you talked a lot about microbes. I wanted to ask you something about the supplements. It's quite common that these days people want to get more healthy and eat a lot of supplements. What's your take on that?
Well, as I said before, there is no magic trick. There is no quick fix. People expect to, eat really bad and then they still want to live longer. So they think, I'll just have vitamin C every day. That should do the trick. But it's not the case. It's vitamins, unless you have a deficiency, you don't need that much. It's a micronutrient. And you need to get it from food. There's so many things we don't know about food, how it's structured, how our body responds to it. Most of the studies show, there's at least 15 congruent studies showing that vitamin pill supplements have no effect on you, on your lifespan. In fact, some of them even have a negative effect, like vitamin C, vitamin E supplements, and even omega-3s. If you take fish, it is shown to have like cardioprotective results. But when you take omega-3 pills made from fish oil, it doesn't seem to have an
act. Yeah.
Basically, it's hard. What you can't just cut and try to go the easy way. That doesn't work. And I think it's important to realize that.
Yeah, I mean, even I heard about these things that, people used to advise taking vitamin E for avoiding cardiovascular diseases few years back, and now they're coming back and saying that no, there's no point in taking supplement. You just have to have foods which have vitamins and not the supplements.
Exactly.
So this is somewhat similar.
It's really hard to convince people because it's in our head for a while. Vitamins are good. Vitamins are great, and you need them. But naturally, you can't have amounts to a point where it can be toxic. But you can when you overdose them on supplements. And it just doesn't seem to have the same effect. And it's all a scam.
This program is brought to you by South End Fertility and IVF.
South End Fertility and IVF, where hope meets happiness. Established in 2001 and guided by care, ethics and expertise, South End has completed over 10,000 ART cycles. It offers comprehensive infertility treatment for both men and women. Modern facilities and experienced team is the hallmark of South End. The centers are at Vasant Vihar, Gurgaon, Saket, Paschim Vihar and Amritsar. South End Fertility and IVF.
I wanted to ask you a little bit more about the traditional foods that you were talking about. You said that they're quite good, and especially the one about some kind of starch which feeds the bacteria. What was it? Resistant starch. You talk a little bit more about some form of traditional foods from India, because now we know that Indian food, the way we cook and the preparations are quite good. Especially I've been hearing a lot about turmeric. So can you talk a little bit more about traditional foods and effects?
Turmeric. So in the past years, there's been heaps and heaps of research done on turmeric, and it's had really promising results. So obviously what the Western world did is take turmeric, put them into pills, and put them as a supplement, as they do. And that's not going to work. You need to eat it how the traditional people eat it. And it's been shown that if you eat turmeric by itself, it doesn't really have an effect on you because it's had really low bioavailability. But like we do, traditionally in India, if you put a little bit of oil in it and just heat it up a little bit and add black pepper with it, it boosts its bioavailability more than 50%. And why turmeric is good? It's been shown to stop cancer cells in every single stage. It's amazing for you. So if you have turmeric...
Does it have effect on obesity and weight loss?
I think maybe not particularly, but it's got really... We're still researching a lot about it. Till now, all we know, it's amazing for you. Try to have it as much as you can. It's great for inflammation. It's really anti-inflammatory. And it's just from head to toe, it affects you really well. And that's the case of most spices. Turmeric. So add turmeric in your food. Cloves, for example, they have one of the highest antioxidant properties in the world. Did you know? And we eat that every day. And it's the same with cinnamon and all kinds of Indian spices. They're so good, and we're just starting the research. And they're so promising.
And you talked a lot about the bacteria. See, most of the foods like the curd or the yogurts, they're actually nothing but lactobacillus. So in traditional food, we do take a lot of turmeric combined with yogurts, and especially in Ayurveda, what they say is that you should not cook the curd. I mean, you have to add it raw, because the reason is that it has a lot of lactobacillus, as you explained about the microbes, and they're good for you. So eating a lot of fermented foods like curds, which has a lot of lactobacillus, probably will add to your immune boosting system and all that.
I think it probably does, but I think it's also really important to focus on feeding the bacteria you do have, because that has the biggest effect. And your bacteria changes so rapidly. You can have a different microbiome today than 4 days from now, just from what you eat. So what you eat has the biggest single impact on your microbiome. So it's pretty much, when you think about it, it's kind of like, in different environments, we have different kind of animals. So in, a rainforest, you'd have monkeys. And so it's really important on how our environment, the environment we produce for them, is the most important.
It must be good to live in a rural setting, because you get all the good bacteria from a farm, especially if you live in an organic farm. The studies have shown that the children grown in an organic farm have good lot of bacteria compared to a child who has grown up in a metro.
Yeah, it's shown that like excessive hand washing and over cleanliness is causing our microbiome to go down. But again, all these things affect you, but the single most thing you can change is your diet, and eating good plant-based food, and a lot of it will help your bacteria. Because just think of it, when you don't like something, just think you're feeding your friends. You're feeding your friends that help you out, So just think every time you're eating.
And learn to cook veggies in a tasty, nice, beautiful looking way.
Yeah, I think
you don't have to hate it. It can be made good.
It's hard to like, some vegetables. When we have an offer, if you have 2 plates and there's, the fast, like our body craves, because we're designed in a way that we love energy-giving foods. So it's kind of like going against what we're designed for, because
so it's difficult.
It is difficult, but good. I think a really good way to go about it is availability. Like when we see things, we want to eat it. But at home, like just have enough willpower when you go shopping not to buy those foods, and make sure you only have good food at home. Then even if you want it, you can't have it. So your brain automatically says, oh, okay, don't have it, so might as well eat this broccoli. At least we hope that works.
Yeah.
But I think every time you're really hungry and you go out to eat, it's really hard.
So stop going for buffet.
Exactly. And I think just seeing things make it really hard.
Yeah, you can't stop.
If you have
eating.
like biscuits in front of you and you're hungry, it's really hard not to eat it.
Yeah.
But if you don't have that availability in the first place, it's fine. So I think it's also like a society problem, but for yourself, what you can do is...
That is a lot of information on diet. I mean, it's too much. I feel that we as a doctors know very little. We have to keep up to date. And all these new things coming about microbes, I'm sure that after a couple of years, we'll be probably prescribing microbes and not antibiotics.
Okay.
So thank you so much for all the wealth of information, and we look forward to have a little bit more information on other aspects of diet as well. Thank you so much, Priyanka.
Thank you.
This program is brought to you by South End Fertility and IVF.
South End Fertility and IVF, where hope meets happiness. Established in 2001 and guided by care, ethics and expertise, South End has completed over 10,000 ART cycles. It offers comprehensive infertility treatment for both men and women. Modern facilities and experienced team is the hallmark of South End. The centers are at Vasant Vihar, Gurgaon, Saket, Paschim Vihar and Amritsar. South End Fertility and IVF,